Hi folks, welcome back. It's Lynn with PFM Arts. Today I would like to show you guys how I made this wonderful soft cover journal. And can you hear that? I just love the way it sounds. The inside of this is actually these paper mailers like you get from Amazon, and I just cut them down, sewed some canvas around them, and this one I filled with some pink and purple paper inside to write with. And I thought it turned out really nice, and I thought you might like to see how you can also make one of these. Now I will go ahead and pre-apologize that number one, I have to bring out my ugly mat because we have to do some cutting. And number two, I do not have my camera set up in a place where I can actually show you this on the sewing machine. So I'll do a step and then I'll come back and talk about it. So I will say that when I was making this was my original journal. Number one mistake that I did was I started and finished my seam. You can probably see that right up here at the top, definitely where somebody can see it. So I think for this time I'm going to make sure to do it somewhere on the back, make it a little bit less conspicuous. And the number two mistake that I made was I went ahead and cut it down to size that I wanted, and then I realized that it would be super awesome if I had just a little bit of an extra flap on the right hand side that I could just put Velcro down and it would form a closure like that. But I had already cut my envelope. So what I did, and obviously you can't see this in here, but I just took some packaging tape and I taped the two sides together, which made it a little bit hard to crease. I actually wanted to crease it right here, but I couldn't do that because it's just where the tape was. So I think for this time I'm going to measure a little bit better and keep in mind that I do want one side longer than the other. Alright, so let's get into it. So what I want on the inside, this is just a regular 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that I have dyed. And this one has some markings on the back. I think it looks really cool, but I'm just going to use this as basically my measuring sheet is what I'm going to look at. So I'm going to fold it in half because that's what size. Let me open this up again. Velcro is super loud. Okay, so inside, it's the same thing. It's 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper folded in half, and that's what size it is. I think I'm going to take, let me see. What is this one on the inside? This one has the plastic stuff, and I'm sure that would work just as good. But I think I want to use this one, the paper on paper. So what I did for the other one was where the bag was actually seamed. Well, I guess it's not really a seam, but where the bag was folded, that actually became my spine. And I did reinforce that with some packing tape as well. Actually, I think I used Tyvek tape on that one. And I'll probably do the same thing for this one because I am going to punch holes in the spine and then put eyelets on it. So let's do this. I wonder if I can get two out of this. No, not quite. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off one of these sides where the side of the bag's been sealed, right there. So that's about a ½ inch in. And actually I'm going to make this a little bit easier for myself to work on, and I'm just going to take this off too on the edge because I don't need that either. So I'm just going to line it up on my grid here. And get my grid. Can you guys see that? Kind of. Let me zoom out just a little bit. You might see my mess. Please excuse my mess. And I'm going to use this. This is a regular quilting. This green thing that I'm using is a quilting cutting mat, or is a cutting mat that's normally used for quilting. Just trying to make sure I get the squishy parts there. So I'm going to cut on the 17. For no reason other than that's the line that I want. And I've lined it up on the bottom here so it's straight. And now I'm just going to take my utility knife over here and I'm just going to cut it down like so. And my knife slipped. Correction, my ruler slipped because this thing is padded and I wasn't holding it down enough. Okay. There we go. Alright, so that's off. Alright, And now I'm going to cut, like I said, I need to cut off this where it's glued together and it's not puffy there. And I definitely want the puffy piece. Am I still in frame? I need to shift over a little bit. Okay, here we go. Alright, and I'm just trying to line it up. And I think I'm going to cut on, yep, that's fairly straight. I'm going to cut on the 18 on this one. On the 18 because that's just where it happened to line up. I'm not measuring at this point, just trying to cut it down to something that's usable. Come on, there we go. Alright, close that back up, set this over here. Now I could just wait. Actually, I might, yeah, I'll go ahead and get the other side too. Alright, so how tall do I want this to be? Actually, I can use this, my first book that I made, as a template because I really liked this size. I thought the pages fit in here really nicely. So how tall is this? Let's find out. It is right at 9. Okay, cool. Right at 9. But the inside's just a little bit smaller because I didn't show you, but as you can see, let me see if I can pull these apart a little bit. You can barely see that paper that's sticking out there. So I said it was 9, so it's probably about, yeah, it's probably about 8 3/4. So I'll go ahead and cut this down to 8 3/4. Okay, now, sorry for bumping the camera. Stop moving. Stop moving. Okay, okay. All right, so let's do this, and now I'm just going to measure to 8 3/4. And I'm lining my bottom that I cut off. It's nice and straight. And I'm lining up the side that I cut off, which is not necessarily on a 45, but pretty close. I'm going to cut right here at this 9 because I'm using this 0 that's over here. So I say I'm going to cut on the 9. I'm actually not going to cut on the 9. I'm going to cut on 8 3/4, which is right here. Just going to make sure that my stuff is straight. Right there. Right there. Are we good? Yep, we're good. Alright, get my handy dandy knife. Come on down here. That got a little bit off center, but that's okay because most of that's going to be covered up by the material anyway. And I can always come back and trim it with scissors, which is probably what I'm going to end up doing, especially for that part right there that doesn't want to come apart. And here are my scissors. Okay, here we go, right there. Just snip that off a little bit. And it was right about here. There we go, just trim that off just a little bit so it doesn't give me any problems when I go to actually cut it. Alright, so now we have something that looks like this. And like I said, this is the spot that's going to be the spine. And now, how big do I want this thing? So what I want it to do, I'll probably just turn it around like this. What I want it to do is I want it to nestle inside of here. But then I want this right flap to come over. And I do want to leave a little bit on here. So maybe I want to cut it. I'm trying to make sure that I'm folding it so that it's not oddly sized. Okay, so if I fold it here, that would be good. And then I can just make my flap maybe to like there. Alright, well how big is that? It's about 2 inches. So what kind of measurements am I working with now? Alright, so from the spine, I have, what, about 3/4 of an inch? Yep, about 3/4 of an inch here. And then I'm going to cut 2 inches past that line. Right, okay, here we go. 2 inches past that line. I'm going to get it fairly straight on here. Get this over again. This will be, where'd my line go? Line, where'd you go? There you are. Alright, so 2 inches past this line. Line it up. There's my line, so I'm going to cut on the 15, which is 2 more inches than where the flap's going to be. This should be a little bit easier to cut because I'm not going through 2 layers. I'm only going through 1 layer now, so this should be a little bit easier. Okay, came off really easily. All right, now what? Now I need to figure out, I need to cut this right here on the other side so it'll fold. Okay, all right, that's how I'm gonna do this. All right, I'm gonna line it up here on the bottom. Yep, pretty close. And now I'm going to scoot this over until I get my fold line to line up with this. Not that this needs to be super exact. I don't really know why I'm trying to be this exact with it, because it doesn't really matter. Did I get it? Yep. Alright, I'll just straighten out this. And we should be pretty good to go. If not, I can always come back and refold that line, but that's approximately where I wanted it. Let's just check on this just to make sure. Yeah, it hangs out a little bit. Maybe I'll bring it in about a ½ inch. I wonder what I did on the other one. I don't remember. Let's see. Oh no, that's hanging off about a ½ inch. Okay, all right. All right, yeah, let me bring it in to right about there. That seems right. Okay, here we go. No going back now. All right, and that came off really easily. All right, so here we go. This is actually now ready to go. And it still sounds so awesome. I don't know why I love the sound so much, but I do. All right, so there's that. Second step is I went to a thrift store and I bought quite a few upholstery remnants, and this is one of the ones that I purchased. And it is actually quite large. But what I'm looking to do, and it doesn't have to be from the same piece of upholstery. This just happens to be such a big piece, I'm just going to use it as is. Now on the outsides, they've used a serger to do a serging stitch all the way around it, so I don't want that actually on my books. I'm going to make sure that I cut that off. And then this is here. I don't want that either. Go away, sticker. What else is on here? Nothing? Okay, nothing. Now, I originally bought these because I was going to make book covers out of them, like with the normal cardboard that we use. But I discovered that these are a little bit too thick for that. Like this one might be okay, but like mushing down the corners, it does not work. Or I can't get it to work anyway. Alright, so what I want to do is on this piece that we made, I want to, number one, cut out two pieces, one for the front and one for the back. Like I said, it doesn't have to be the same piece, but that's what I'm using because this is such a big piece anyway. And I also want to make sure that I leave about 1/4 inch all the way around. Now on this journal, you'll see that it looks like I used pinking shears, but it actually wasn't. And actually I forgot to get them, so stand by and I'll show you how I cut that. Alright, and I'm back. Alright, so this is what I wanted to show you. It's a regular rotary cutter, like for quilting, but this one actually is a pinking shear cut. So it's pinking rotary. Now the only problem that I have with this sometimes is when I'm going down that clear ruler that I was using before, sometimes I'll get a little bit off path, but it's easily fixed. If you don't have this, you can always use regular pinking shears. You also can use just regular scissors as well, but if you use regular scissors, it's probably going to ravel, and it may be a little bit more than what you actually would want it to ravel. Alright, so I'm going to start off by, number one, turning my fabric. So, actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to start right here. And I said that I wanted to cut off the edge that they use the serger on, and I'm just going to move my fabric over here. So what you guys don't see on camera is that my camera holder stick, my arm, is actually bolted right here on the edge, so I can't, this is unusable space for me. So that's why sometimes I look awkward, also because I am awkward, so there's that. Okay, I'm going to cut off this end instead because I'm right-handed and it's easier for me. Well, I hope everyone had a great Labor Day yesterday. We definitely did. Got to visit with some family. Got to hang out at the sandbar. Got a little bit of sun, maybe a little bit too much. Got a little bit of sun. Folks were fishing and just having a really good time out there. I'm really glad that we got to spend some family time together. Okay. Alright, so that's all lined up. So I'm just going to put this down here. And like I said, am I still on camera? Yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to trim off this part right here, and plus I want this edge, so I'm going to use that. And this is going to be a little bit squishy. When I say squishy, my ruler is probably going to move on me because this is actually fairly thick. And the other one that I cut for the one that I showed you was actually thinner upholstery material, so I am bearing down kind of hard, trying to get this all in one cut, which I may or may not do. I did not. But I did get most of it. How much is most of it? Okay, this I can cut off. It's just one tiny little piece right here. And then that I'm going to have to go over again. And that's the other thing too with this rotary cutter. You don't want to go over it too many times, because then it doesn't make the pinking shears design anymore, because you're basically cutting over the same piece multiple times. There. Okay. So saying that, I probably shouldn't be doubling this up, but here we are. Alright, now, how long do I need this? Because like I said, I need to have two pieces, and I want it to be about right there. Now, I could measure this, but I don't really like measuring unless I absolutely have to. And I think what I'll do is I'll just place that there. I have it on the right hand side how far down I want. And I think I'll just, well, make sure that it's flat, number one. That's a good tip. Like that. And then let's make sure our fabric is straight. That will also be helpful. So I'm just lining it up down here at the bottom. I still have my paper up here on the top. And I'm going to come over to about right there. Yep, right about there, because I got about 1/4 of an inch right there, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. Alright, let's come on down with this. I'm pressing pretty hard. Okay, did I get it? Ooh, I did get it. Great success. Alright, so here's the leftover piece that I have, and it's still quite a large piece, so that's awesome. I'll use that for something else. Alright, I know I need to go ahead and trim. Actually, since this is kind of such a pain to do doubled up, I think I'll just trim off the end, because like I said, I'm trying to get that pinking shear look on here. And I use the rotary cutters. It's easier for me. Just personal preference, that's all. Alright, so I'm just going to line it up here. Try to make life easy on me. Not when you do that. It doesn't make life easy. Okay. Doing this. And now I get that serger edge off. And if there's a little bit of fraying going on here, I don't mind that, as long as it doesn't completely unravel the project. Alright, so there's that. And now I just need to cut the top and bottom to size. Okay, I'm just kind of lining this up here, getting it about 1/4. And then I'm going to come back in with my ruler. And I'm going to find where about 1/4 is, which looks like it's about there. Okay, and now I'm just going to run my rotary cutter again. Right down there like that. Oop, got most of it. Missed one piece. Let's see here. Got you, and one more. Free. And I'm just going to use this same piece that I just cut as a template for the next piece that I'm about to cut. Just going to move this down a little bit. And since I don't want to cut the same piece that I just cut. I'm just going to move it out the way as soon as I get my measurement. And again, this might not be exact, but it'll be fairly close. There we go. Right about there. Come back in with my rotary cutter. Nice. Okay, and still quite a big piece left. Awesome. Alright, put this guy up. I think I'm done with that guy. Here we are on to the next piece, but before I go on, I said Tyvek tape. So what I want to do is I want to reinforce where the spine's going to be, because like I said, that's where I put the eyelets last time, and I want to do the same thing this time because I think it turned out really well. I said it's Tyvek's tape. It's Lowe's brand of Tyvek tape. And this tape is kind of loud, and I pre-apologize. And I don't need to put a whole bunch of this tape down. I just need to give it something else to kind of grab onto. Actually, I'm going to do this and I'll just wrap it around. So the good news is about using this heavyweight canvas material is that you don't have to worry about the branding showing through your journal. I'm just going to wrap that around right there and bring this over here. And I'm only going to put one layer on this time. Last time when I made the other journal, I used just regular clear packing tape, like the Scotch packing tape wide like this, but Scotch. And I honestly didn't really like the way that it made my journal feel. So I'm using this Tyvek tape instead. Tyvek tape is a little bit more flexible, but it's still really, really strong. But it's not quite as rigid as the regular Scotch tape. Okay, so next step, and this is the step that I'm going to go ahead and pre-apologize for that I already did. The next step is for me to go over to the sewing machine and just run a straight stitch all the way around here, around the outside, with just one layer. You could do it with 2 layers, I'm sure, but I would like I don't know, I feel more comfortable with doing it with 1 layer and then coming back and doing another layer on top. So I'll go do that and I'll come back and show you what I did. Okay, I'm back. All done. So all I did, and as you can see, it's not exactly even, and I can always trim that up later. But all I did was I just ran a regular straight stitch. Is that showing up? Yep. A straight stitch all the way around here, about 1/8 of an inch. I actually elongated my stitch length because I didn't want to pierce through the paper and basically make it that you could like tear it away. So I did elongate my stitch. My machine normally runs on a 2.5 length, but I increased it to 3.5. So that's all I did here, and I did forget to show you a step, and that's called the pinning step. I just completely forgot about it until I went to go over to my sewing machine and realized that these are not fabric scissors, look at that, goodness, and realized that it was going all over the place. So I have that down, I have my Tyvek tape, so I'm just going to put this piece over the top and make a sandwich, just like that. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to pin this, and I'm going to try not to do what I did last time, which was put my beginning and end stitch on the front. I want to put it on the back, so that's going to be here. Alright, so this is where I want to do my beginning and my ending stitch. That moved on me. Let me just pin this. Okay, here we go. Pinning. And as I'm pinning, I'm making sure that everything is reasonably straight. Like I said, if there's a little bit extra on the edges, no problem. I can come back and trim it. And I'm just going to put 2 pins here so I know where I need to start and stop. Actually, it needs to be closer to here because that's going to be my front flap. Let's go right here. That seems like a good idea. Right there. Okay. Alright, I'm going to leave that pin there. And I'm going to come over trying to make sure that this thing is as flat as I can make it. Now put as many pins as you want, or as little pins as you want. I'm sure that you could do this book without sewing. I'm just not sure how the glue would hold on here, and if you did do it with glue, if it would still have as much of the crinkle to it, or if it would fold up well. But I'm sure that you could do it. It just might not have your intended outcome. Okay, and as soon as I get this pin in here that doesn't want to go, there we go. I'm going to flip it over and see how close I am. It's hanging off a little bit, not bad. That's hanging off a little bit there, but also not bad. Definitely something that's trimmable. Okay, I'm going to come back and I will show you what I have sewn, and we'll finish this guy up. And I'm back. Alright, let me show you what I did. I was gathering the things for the next couple of steps. So, what I did was I went around, and I'm going to try to get this up close. What I did was I went around over the top of where I took that straight stitch, and I went over it with a zigzag stitch. Now, the same thing as last time, I increased my stitch length because it doesn't need to be all that secure. You're just only holding basically just two pieces of cloth together. And I have not clipped my strings yet. Alright, so here we go. And I know that this is my back because that's where I stopped and started, and my little pins told me where to do that, so good for me this time for doing that. And I did trim off camera. I was just over there on that side, and I just went in with my pinking shears and just got some of the mismatched edges off. And you can see on here that it's still fraying a little bit, but it's not that bad. Alright, so I'm just going to go find the spine again. See if I can find the spine again. There it is. It's right there. There we go. And then this one is going to loop over like that. Now, as you can see, it doesn't go completely flat when you go to loop it over, just because I didn't leave enough extra room in here, but it'll do just fine, and it'll end up looking something like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and see if I can retrain the spine real quick so I'll know where to put my eyelets. It's going to be right about there. And I think we decided that this thing was about 9 long. Yep, it is about 9 long. And so I'm going to grab something that I can mark with. I'm just going to use this blue pencil. That'll show up. And I'm going to come in about an inch from the bottom and an inch from the top, and that's where I'm going to put my first one. So right around in there. And you probably can't see this blue on the camera, but I can see it here. And then I'm going to split halfway, so 9 is going to be 4.5, which is actually dead on where this square is, so I don't have to worry about that too much. And I already got my grommets out here. Not grommets, well, I mean, they kind of are. I got my eyelets out here, and I think for this one, let me see, do I want to do the silver ones or the gold ones? I mean, they both look nice. Is this better? Hardest decision I've had to make today. Okay, well, do I have 3 of these is the next question, because I think I like those ones the best. Yeah, those look about the same. Alright, I'll use those. Alright, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 3/16 hole here, my hole puncher right here, and that's going to give me the big one. Alright, so now I'm just going to flip this over, and this is, I think this is the most, is that still where that's supposed to be? Yeah, I think this is the most difficult part of this, is because you're punching through canvas, which is kind of a pain to begin with, but then also, there's my blue mark, but then also you're punching through the puffy cardboard. And am I right? There's my mark just above that triangle. Punch it through here. So what I have to do is I'll usually have to come back and, is it going to do it this time or is it going to, no. Yeah. You see how they come all the way through? So I'm just going to go in with scissors and I'll trim that off. Of course I didn't bring my scissors over here to do that with, so I'll have to go grab them really quickly. And I'm just trying to make sure that this is lined up well. Yep. And that's going to be right on top of that triangle. Right about there. The good news is this crocodile makes it really, really easy to punch. It's just sometimes, especially with the fabric, it doesn't go quite all the way through, especially if you're working with thick fabric. Okay, and the last one, gonna go right here. Right there. Okay. Now let me grab my scissors and I'll be right back. Well, that was easier than I thought. It was right beside me. Alright, so I'm just gonna, these are actually applique scissors. You can obviously use any scissors that you have, but I just like to get some of the fabric out of the way so that the eyelets will have a better chance of actually grabbing. Just gonna trim off some of this extra fluff that's in here. You see there's still some there, but it's not as bad, and it'll give the eyelets an opportunity to actually do their job. Just gonna get a little bit more of that out. And that's pretty decent. Okay. Now for the next part, I'm going to go ahead and push that selector down to there, which means that I'll get the, I guess this isn't the chompy bit, this is the squishy bit where you squish an eyelet. And do I already have it on the right size? I have it on 1 and A. I don't think that's the right size. Let me double check. This is why I always keep my instructions for the crocodile. I don't think I've ever kept any instructions to anything ever except the crocodile. Let me see if I have it on the right one. Yeah, so your choices here are 3/16 or 1/8, and I am doing 3/16, and 3/16 is in fact A1, and I do have it right. Okay, cool. Alright, so now I just have to set these guys. This is my outside portion. So, there's my eyelets. And there's some of the stuff that I cut off. And I'm just gonna poke this down in here like such, and I'm going to try to stick it down as far as I possibly can, and also get some of these fabric strings away so the eyelet will have an opportunity to actually fan out the way they're supposed to. It may or may not, and it's okay because it's going to be on the spine of the book anyway, and you won't really be able to see it. Okay, so now that I did that, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to put it on that little disc down at the bottom, and I'm going to do a squish like that. Squish. How'd it turn out? Pretty good. Not too shabby. Alright. Do that 2 more times over here. Do that right there. And like I said, let me move that out of the way so I can do something. The middle one's always the hardest because I run out of hands. My finger length isn't quite long enough. And like I said, I'm just squishing this down, kind of around, again, to give the eyelet an opportunity to fan out like it's supposed to. Doing some squishes in there. Alright, do the same thing. Put this on this little disc here, which is really hard to see, y'all. It's kind of been raining off and on all day, and my light in here isn't the best today, and I guess I should apologize for that too. That one turned out pretty good. And it's starting to get on towards dinner time anyway. Alright, last one, same thing. I may have to, I need to go in and cut that down a little bit more so I have something better to work with. And literally sometimes all it needs is just a little bit of help to fan out properly. There's that. Squish this down. Come on, strings. Work with me. You can do it. That's pretty good. Sometimes if the fabric isn't behaving the way I want to, I'll put some fray check on the outside, which is basically just a really heavy duty starch. It comes in a very small bottle. Where's my bottle of fray check? This is fray check. I'll put just a little bit of fray check on the edges, and that'll give me the opportunity to kind of squish it down a little bit. But this one's doing okay. Alright, so last time, let's put this in here. and squish it down. Okay. How'd that turn out? Oh, good job. All of them turned out fairly well. And they're actually fairly well in line. Nice. Alright, so next up is to select your paper. I went ahead and selected this. I normally used hand-dyed paper, but I really liked the way that this cream color worked with this particular color scheme that I have going on here. So I selected 12 pages of 8.5 by 11, just regular copy paper. This one just happens to be colored. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these papers in half. And that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to fold them in half, and then they're going to go everywhere like 52 card pickup. Perfect. Alright, here we go. Folding them in half. And I don't know, did I do a straight cut on this one? Or no? I did. I don't think I'm going to do a straight cut on this one. Let me see how it turns out. Fold a third of these again. So I'm folding about 4 papers at a time. I see people folding 12 pages at a time, 1 page at a time. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to do this, and then I have my bone folder sitting here because when I get done and get them nestled all nice and happy in one another, I'm just going to come around with my bone folder and just kind of squish them down. Alright, so here we go. They've all been folded. Open. There. Like that. That is sticking out pretty far, isn't it? Yeah, I'll come back. I'll trim them up. Fine. Fine. I'll trim them up. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of getting the pages nestled and settled in one another. And the reason why these pages push out on the end is because, as you can see here, or you should be able to see right here, let me move it closer to the center. Just because the pages are stacking up on top of another one and then folding, it's pushing it out, and it doesn't look that much here, but it looks like a lot on the other side. So I'll go ahead and get these things squished down like this. Man, I hope my blade's sharp enough. I don't know if it is. We're going to find out. And honestly, since these are, you know what, I'm going to grab 3 more papers and make this a 15 signature. When you dye pages, when you hand dye pages, of course they're not as flat as they were to begin with. So I normally use 12 pages in a signature, but I think for this one I can get 15 because these are already nice and flat anyway. Alright, so now I have 15. Yeah, and that's pushing that out quite a ways. Alright, again, with the bone folder, squish it down. And then squish it down again. Like I said, I wasn't going to trim it, but I will trim it. Just because it'll make me happier. Yeah, I said I was done with this. I was not. I also said that I was done with my blade. But apparently I was not. Oh, it's literally right here, guys. Why didn't you tell me it was right here? It's literally right here. Okay, here we go. Time to do some trimming. And what I'm doing right now is, once again, I'm just lining my paper up on these grid squares because it makes it easier on me. Get that out of the way. And not that I'm looking for any particular size, but I just want to make sure that it's even. So I'm going to come over to just where the first page is so I can cut off these extra. So it's going to be right here is where my first page is. And again, this doesn't have to be exact, but I want to get it fairly close. And again, I am doing this on kind of an awkward angle. So we'll see how it goes. I'm trying to put a lot of pressure on here. That is way too much knife. Okay. And I'm holding this down with my left hand with very firm pressure. And then with my right hand, I'm just dragging the blade across the papers and letting it cut what it cuts. I'm not putting hardly any pressure on the knife itself and just letting it do what it does. Almost. A little bit more. One more. Yep, all done. Nice. Alright, so I will, not right now, but when I get done with this video, I'll put all these little pieces in my bag for when I go make handmade paper. I've been saying that I was going to do that for a year and still haven't done it, but I am going to do it and it's going to be awesome. Alright, so now my edge looks much more straight and much more neat, and I'm much more happy with this. So, don't worry guys, we're almost done. This is just normal bookbinding, what I'm about to do right now, with a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Nothing crazy. I am lining up my paper to make sure, or to try to make sure that I have as much cover hanging off on this side as I do on this side. And then I'm going to take a pencil, and I'm going to mark the center of these holes so I can come in with my Crocodile, my hole punch, and punch the holes in here. Now, I don't know if you can see those marks that I made, but they're very, very faint and very, very light, but I can see them. Yeah, you can see them. Alright, come back over here with my Crocodile. Instead of using the 3/16, which is the big hole, I'm going to use the smaller hole, which is the 1/8. That's this one, as opposed to this one. That's the one we used for the eyelets. This is the one I want to use for my holes in my paper. Alright, so I'm going to do this, and I'm going to just bend this back like this. It seems counterintuitive to bend it back, but I find that I have more success because it feels like I can take the thing that does the hole punching and actually get it to sit basically right where I have those marks. I'm just going to go ahead and do this very, very quickly. 1, and then 2, and then turn my paper around because my Crocodile isn't quite that long, and last one. So much pressure. 3, like that. And I did fairly decently. I stayed basically in the middle for all these, so that's good. Alright, almost done guys, almost done. Let me grab my thread for sewing, which is some yarn, and I'm going to grab my needle, which is right here. Nope, not that one. That one's way too pointy. There we go. You know, it's a shame I can't remember to get all my supplies when I start something, but I can't. Alright, so here's my needle. It's a little bit pointy, but not too bad, but it has a very large eye, which means that I can thread this normally on the first try, such as that. I see a lot of people, and I think I've said this before, I see a lot of people measure out how much they need, but I never measure it out beforehand. Okay, so this is the way my book's supposed to go. And I'll show you how I do it instead, and it might be easier for you. If not, it's about, if you measure 3 times the length from top to bottom of your book, that's about how much you need. This is easier for me like this because I normally use something that's flat, like this yarn that I'm using right now. It's not round, so I need to have a little bit of extra to play with to make sure that I get these things, to make sure that the yarn ends up laying flat. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Okay, here we go. Doing this. Okay, and then I'm just going to come back into that center hole, making sure that I do not pierce that yarn because it won't work out well if you do. Okay, there's that. Alright, I'm done with that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and cut this. Yep, it's pulling freely, so that's good. I'm going to go ahead and cut this right here. Alright, and now I'm just going to make sure that this is lying down flat on the back, which this one right now is not. So I'm just going to kind of work it through here so that it is laying down flat. Now once again, if you're using something that's round as opposed to something that has a flat edge, you don't have to worry about this step. But I really do like this particular yarn. Number one, we actually ran up on a deal and I had bought actually my mom bought quite a bit of it. But this is just so pretty. It's got this nice little gold detail on the outside, and it's really, really soft, and it holds well too. And it works for so many different color combinations. There we go. That should be about right. Okay, so this is flat. Let me check it on the back again. Nope. Got a twist up here at the top. That's already flat there, so I think, well, it was flat until I mussed it up. It's already flat there. That's flat. Okay, so if I just pull this one now, it should be okay. Let's check it. Yep, we're good. Flat and then flat. Alright, so I'm gonna line up my paper again to kind of make them, not to kind of make them, but to make them straight or fairly even on here. Pull both sides. I have one string on one side of the center and one string on the other side of the center. And probably going to triple knot this. Normally if it's 15 pages in a signature, I'll do a 5-hole pamphlet stitch instead, just to keep it a little bit more secure. But once again, for this one, I just want a little bit less of a bow. For this one, it wasn't, the papers weren't all that puffy, so I didn't feel like I needed to. Okay guys, one more thing to do, then we're done. Actually, let me put this up before I lose it, because that's what I do. Also, sorry for bumping the camera if I did. Pretty sure that I did. Okay, here we are. Alright, so this book is almost done. Alright, the only thing that now I need is a closure over here. And the other one I used Velcro, and I think I will use Velcro on this one as well. Alright, so, alright, that's pretty good there. Yep, that's pretty good there. That's pretty good there. Alright, so I have some of this, I don't want to necessarily call it leftover Velcro, but it is. It was from another project we were working on. And I have, let's see if I have any of the little fuzzy pieces. I will use up the pieces because that's all I'm using right now anyway. It's just little pieces. Alright, so there's a fuzzy piece. And here's a fuzzy piece. Okay. And this, what is this? That's also a fuzzy piece. Okay, so those are all fuzzy pieces. Alright, here is a sticky piece. Like that. That's fairly decent. I'm just going to trim this one up because it's not really close to being square. That's good. Alright, I'm going to see if I can find a piece that kind of matches that piece. Yeah, that's pretty good. Alright, and when I was doing the other one, I was really thinking about which side I should put the Velcro on. And I decided on the other one, and I'm going to do it on this one too, is that I'm going to put the soft side on this side, just because most people are right-handed. Sorry, lefties. And when you're writing, you don't want anything kind of, you know, grabbing and trying to tear off your hand's skin. That sounds disappointing. Now, definitely could sew this on. I am definitely not. I'm going to use my good old Fabri-Tac, and actually this bottle's almost empty, so actually I'm going to put this on pause while I get the glue to come. Oh, are you already coming down at the bottom? You are already coming down at the bottom. That's fantastic. Alright. Alright, now what I'm going to do, like I said, these pieces are going to go over here on this side, like so. So I'm going to go ahead and get these ones down first. And for whatever reason, I don't know what I was thinking, when I cut the tip on this glue, I cut the hole really, really big. So this comes out super fast. It's great when I'm making books, well, when I'm making covers and gluing on the covers, but not so much when I'm trying to do this delicate work. I probably should have got my other glue bottle out, but this one was on top. There you go. Okay, here we go. Alright, and I'm just trying to coat this. I'm not trying to completely saturate it. I'm just going to put this down right about here. Looks like I went up about 1 inch. I'm going to turn it. I've got a minute. Like that. I'll get the measurements in just a second. Do this. Get this really good. So the thing I like about Fabri-Tac is that it holds really, really strong. It does have an interesting odor to it. Let's see here. That's straight. That's straight. what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to cheat this. I'm going to, yep, that's also what happens when you cut the hole too big. I'm going to cheat it by, apparently I can't do two things at one time, which is do a thing and also talk. Okay, alright, this is how I'm going to cheat it. I'm going to put that there, and I'm going to put this here. So when I push this over and get it where I want it, they're going to be perfectly lined up. Now, all I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a heavy book and I'm going to place it on here, and I'm going to come back in about 30 minutes and we'll take a look at what we did. Okay, you ready to see? Me too. I don't think it's going to turn out very well because I said I was going to wait 30 minutes, but I can't wait, so I'll just wait at 10. So let's see how this turned out. Hopefully it'll turn out well enough. Fabri-Tac does set fairly fast, but I am being very careful when I'm taking this off. It did not quite set, but that's okay. There we go. At least I have it lined up. So I have a few seconds to straighten that one out because that one was super crooked. Alright, so there we go. There we go. Here's our soft cover book. That sounds super awesome. Alright guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope again that you guys had a great weekend. See you next time. Bye!